Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and today I am particularly excited because once again, we are talking marketing, and we found an incredible guest that offers a full suite of marketing services. But what I really love about her work is that, I love this phrase, she doesn't just do marketing for marketing's sake. She does marketing with a clear view of growing a business and resonating with customers and clients and ensuring that a product and a service actually meets the demands and shows the demands of an entire market. Her marketing is so results oriented and results based that you'll be able to see the way she talks about it, whether it comes from fitting your product and service to a specific channel, to a specific message, getting it in front of your ideal customers. I'm sure we're going to say that phrase a bunch in today's conversation. You'll find that today's guest really focuses on that side of marketing. So let me tell you all about her. Her name is Mary Casey. Mary started Maxima Marketing Strategies to help businesses maximize their brands and reach their business goals. A passion that started all the way back in high school. I can't wait to find out, how did she love marketing all the way back in high school? But Mary has taken her love of all things marketing and turned it into a full-time business. Now, the other side of Mary, with her entrepreneur hat on, not just as a marketer, is that life is all about finding balance and doing what you love. So outside of marketing, Mary is an avid runner, having just finished her third half marathon with a PR. She's an amateur baker, health and wellness enthusiast, and a proud dog mom. We may or may not see her dog make an appearance in today's episode. Mary enjoys meeting and connecting with fellow entrepreneurs and business owners and is always looking for something new to learn, which I think is such an important trait for all of us as entrepreneurs. So I'm excited for us to learn from Mary here today. I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Mary Casey. All right, Mary, I am so excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thank you. What an intro.
Heck yeah. Well, listeners know I geek out. Anytime we've got an episode where I get to talk marketing, I'm very excited. And Mary, I know that this is a deep-rooted passion for yours as well. So let's kick things off. Take us beyond the bio. Who the heck is Mary? High school marketing interest. How did you get there?
That is such a funny story. I actually, back in the day, back in high school, what I wanted to be when I grew up, I wanted to do journalism. I liked writing. And when I got to senior year, some of the electives you could do, there was a journalism elective. And I was like, fantastic. That's so perfect. That's what I want to do. And so I signed up for that elective and got a call from my advisor in the summer telling me that class was canceled due to under-enrollment. And I was really upset. And she told me, well, there's space in this marketing class that you could take. And I think that would be really good for you because if you're a freelance journalist, you're going to have to know how to market yourself. So she was like, take that take that marketing class and, it'll be fun. She's like, it'll be good. And so I went to the class. It was a full year class and I just loved it. It was the project that we did was just create a business, come up with a business and market it. How are you going to get it? How are you going to promote it? What product or service were you going to provide? Your pricing strategy. It was really like a perfect high school intro to marketing. And then I kind of just left journalism behind and was like, you know what? I really like doing this. This is fun. And I'm good at it. So I just pursued marketing then through college, and that was the beginning. That was the start.
Yeah, I love that. Fast forward us today because, Mary, I already know that listeners, they're going to be excited about two parts of what we're going to cover here today, which is one, for sure, marketing. We're going to go deep into the world of marketing. But two, I love that you back it up with an entrepreneurial story because hearing high school you have a strong focus on marketing, for too many people, that turns into great careers in the world of marketing. But I love, obviously, I've studied so much of the work that you do for your clientele. I love that you've taken that to serve so many different small and medium-sized businesses in a really results-oriented way. So walk us through that journey because full-time entrepreneurship is the dream for so many, but you get to do it while also doing incredible marketing projects.
Yeah. So I decided to start my own business. It kind of just was like a light bulb moment. I had no thought of it. I thought that my career was going to be just working for other organizations, other employers, and just climb the ranks of marketing. You know, I had this dream at that time of being high up in the marketing world, maybe a CMO one day. How exciting would that be? And then funny enough, I was just catching up with a neighbor one day, and he told me that he was thinking about starting his own business. I think it was construction, maybe. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that," you know. And he worked in construction for his full-time job, but he wanted to branch out and do his own. And I heard myself go, "Oh, you know, that's so great. You know, congratulations. If you need some marketing help, just let me know. That's what I do." And that moment, like right after that conversation, I remember going back home and thinking, wait a minute. Yes, I can help him, but I could also help a lot of people. And maybe that's something I should think about. And that just kind of planted the seed. You know, that's where the thought came from. And then I started to think about having my own business, and I started to envision being my own boss and my own company. And that became more attractive to me than climbing the ranks in marketing for another organization. And I just slowly kind of put the steps together, put the process together, started my business. And then I was working full time for another company when I started my business. And the realist in me, was like, okay, Mary, we started this company. It's probably not going to be something we can do full time for a couple years. I was going to give myself like 5 years to see where I was and how it grew. And I don't know, I guess the universe was like, we are not taking 5 years. And a couple months later, I was actually, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, the way you look at it, I was laid off from that job. And I found myself trying to find another job, going through that whole recruiting process, reaching out to all my network, my connections, everyone. And nothing was biting, nothing was working. And so I thought, okay, you know what? Let me take this time, really pump up my business while I've got this free time, and I'll keep looking for that other job. And then a connection of mine had someone who needed marketing. That's how I got my first client. And then after that, then the next client came, and then the next client, and then it just started to really gain momentum. And I thought, okay, I think this is the universe's way of telling me this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're meant to do. You're not meant to go find another full-time job and keep one foot there and one foot, in your business. You are both feet in. We're head first. We're diving in. We're doing this. And that's how I got into the entrepreneur life, just kind of unexpectedly, but yeah.
Yes, I love that. It reminds me, hearing you tell that story, I mean, my head here is like, you did it literally just step by step. And it reminds me of that Martin Luther King Jr. quote where he says, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. And I think that's such powerful advice. I feel like when people tune into these entrepreneurial podcasts, they hope to hear some miraculous, one thing went your way and you made one strategic decision and the rest fell into place. The reality is, Mary started with a side hustle, ended up with a career transition, and you doubled down on yourself. You picked you. And I love that part of your entrepreneurial story. And let's transition, because hearing you say, well, you realize you could help others with marketing. What is marketing, Mary? I feel like as entrepreneurs, marketing can be a distraction for so many people, because marketing comes with a whole set of tools like Canva. We can get lost in all the cool sides of marketing, but what is marketing when it comes to growing a business?
Yeah, it is essential. It's essential. You cannot grow your business without marketing, because marketing is the link between you and your customer and your potential customer. And those customers are what brings your business money. And it's what brings your business more resources and how your business grows. It is essential, but it is also the one thing that people just do not have the time for. Business owners don't have the time to dedicate to all the things that they need to do to market their business, and they don't have the they might have the money to invest in marketing, but they don't have the resources or the time, the time to do it themselves. And so they're looking for someone who can do that for them and who can come in and understand their business and learn their business and their business's goals and help them, grow. And I think that a lot of times businesses maybe are a little scared of marketing, or they're hesitant to work with someone in marketing because it is kind of this mystery. Like, it's hard to just put an exact, definition or, what do I need to do? And it's not an immediate results thing. Your efforts aren't going to be an immediate, like, exponential growth in 1 month. It's not realistic. But it is something that over time, if you cultivate it and you work on it, it will bring some of the, the greatest, it yields the best results. And it is that missing link between you and your customer and your potential customers. And to do it correctly and to do it at all is so necessary. And it's going to help you against your competition, right? Who is maybe not doing marketing, or they are doing marketing and you're falling behind from that. So it's to put you, to get you in line with the competition, to get you over the competition, and to get you to reach your target audience.
Yeah, but Mary, hearing you talk about that, I can't help but jump to that gym analogy, which is, you said it's not an immediate results business. And it's the same thing of going to the gym, is that we've got a million options when it comes to working out. We could go to the gym, we could play sports, we could go to all these fancy new companies that are popping up seemingly every week, Barry's Bootcamp, F45, all these different options. But all of them bring results, but none of them bring results if we don't go consistently. And that's where I feel like consistency, and the other thing I want to throw into this conversation is the paradox of choice. If you jump from one thing to another, you will never get results. And Mary, I feel like so many entrepreneurs, they try, I hate that verb in the context of marketing and business. They try using Instagram for a week. They try Google Ads. They try all of these other things, but they never actually succeed with any of them. So walk us down that path. What's the antidote to trying in the world of marketing?
Trying is a long-term process. It's not you try it and then it didn't work, or it did work. It's try, and then it's a long-term, and it's adjust. It's adjust your trying, right? So I like to tell my clients, the social media example that you gave, social media is a lot of trial and error, and there really is no magic recipe. And it's going to be different for every single business that you work for, because their audience is different. And it's finding that sweet spot. And the only way that you can do that is if you try. And if this post doesn't work, or this time of day doesn't work, those are things that we just have to pull back and adjust. And that's one of the other things that I love about marketing. It's a constant adjustment. It's never the same thing. It's always exciting. It's always something different. And it could be something, for social media, it's working great for a while, and then suddenly the engagement drops, and we need to figure out why, and we need to readjust, and we need to keep trying. And you're right. It's like, you can't just try something once and be like, oh, well, that didn't work. It's try again, try it differently. Try something a little different, have a different strategy, maybe adjust the strategy, and just keep trying. And I think that trying is a long-term thing. It's not one and done.
Yeah, listeners, I'm going to call all of you out because we love hearing from you all. But how often on this show do we hear amazing guests like Mary come on and stress this is an iterative process? You are never done. I think that's part of the fun of running our own businesses, is that we are always, I'd say, let's substitute trying with experimenting. We're always just experimenting, having a hypothesis, testing it, adjusting accordingly. So Mary, I really love that overview, but there's one channel that the deeper I went into your work, and you've got some amazing case studies on your website. I love how much this pops up, is that you have such a strong emphasis still on email. And this is a platform that I'm a big fan of. Everyone has been saying, so I started my first business in 2008, and ever since 2008, everyone says every year, email is dead. But Mary, you keep coming back to it because you know that it works. Talk to us about the importance of email inside of a marketing mix.
Oh, I love email. It hurts my soul when someone tells me like, oh, email is dead. And I'm like, okay, well then why are my email campaigns getting, 60, 70% open rates if they're dead? No, I love email. And again, the great thing about marketing, and you said the marketing mix, and I love that, is marketing is not one size fits all. It's not one solution only. It's a mix. And the way it's different points of different contact points for your audience. And we all are on email. We all have our email. We all open our email. We all look through. And you know what? Think about the brands that you do open emails from. You're opening those emails. You get an email from a brand, you see something about a coupon, whatever it is, something entices you to open that email. And that's what I love about email marketing, is that you can really entice someone to open the email and to click. And it's not dead, because we are still using email. We still check our email every day. We're on it constantly. It's one of the things that, a tab is always open on our browser. One of them is an email. So it's definitely still important. And if your customer, if your target audience is still on their email and they're still opening emails, then that is a place that you want to be, right? You don't want to make it difficult for your customer to find you. You never want to do that. You want to meet them where they're at. And whether that's a type of social platform, whether it's email, and a lot of times it is email. And the thing about email is that it's kind of the same as print, right? Remember what happened to print, where no one wanted to send mailers, no one wanted this. And then when everyone pulled back on that, the brands that were like, maybe we should send something in the mail, got great results, because it was something that had stopped, and now it came back, and now it was different, and now it was, out there and obvious. And they, customers were maybe picking up that flyer that was very heavy and felt good in their hands. And so everything does cycle around. And so I don't think that we can ever say that, email is dead. We can't do email. Email's not going to work anymore. It will always cycle back. Everything will cycle back. But if you stay with it, and that's where your customers are, you don't really have to worry about following, the trend, or like, oh, email's back. Now I got to go back to email. Well, we were always doing it. And because we know that we can't just do one thing and then abandon it and then come back to it and then try and, beat the competition again when we've pulled the reins so much. So to me, I love email. It's a great way to meet your customer, to get them to open, to get them to know your brand, and it's a way for them to just learn more about you. And if you are enticing them enough to open, that's going to be some conversions down the line.
Yeah, I love that overview, especially because you highlight such an important thing. In the world of AI, everyone is feeling like I have to be mass producing all of this content, but you reveal when they zig, you zag. And so if everyone's bouncing from creating human content, showing up on video, having more intimate content delivery, like a podcast, for example, everyone's worried, oh, we're going to be able to just ask AI for all the answers. No, I think it's going to make podcasting even more valuable, email even more valuable, videos more valuable. So I love your attitude towards that. But I will throw this in there, because I always love, as a podcast host, I think about the knocks that listeners might have on the things that we're sharing here. And Mary, someone might be saying, well, it's easy for you to like email. You love writing. You've already confessed that to us. And so for business owners who are saying, Mary, I don't want to be a writer. I'd rather make some social media content where I don't have to write so much. I'd rather post an Instagram story that's going to disappear 24 hours from now. I'm not a great writer. I'm not a great crafter of words. What is the importance of writing? Because I argue that we as entrepreneurs, we all have a responsibility to ourselves, to our products and services, to our audience, to be able to convey a solid message about the mission that we're on. So talk to us about putting that messaging together with your writing hat on, because maybe not everybody loves writing or messaging.
That is true. Writing is, and I come across a lot of clients that are like, I can't do it. I'm not good at it. I don't know how to convey, what I'm trying to say in a concise manner. And that's the key, right? That is the key with writing. Anything, any post, any email, clear and concise. Keep it simple, right? Because while we might be opening those emails, we don't really want to read a novel every time we open those emails, right? Customers they don't want to read that much. They want to be able to look at something and synthesize that data very, very quickly and be able to know exactly what you're trying to tell them. And they just want to get it really fast. And that is, I think, a key thing that people, when you're writing, you have to think about, is being clear and concise while also writing in a way that tells the story. You're not leaving anything out. You're just taking the most important pieces, what you want the audience to know, and putting that out there. And what I like to do is, if a client comes to me and they're like, I need to simplify this, or I need to write an email, and they sometimes they give me, they're like, here's some emails we've done in the past. And I'll look at it and it's just paragraphs and paragraphs of words. And I'm like, okay, but this is what I love to do. I love that. Please give me those emails. And for me as a writer, I love to be able to take something that is, paragraphs and paragraphs and shrink that down to like one or two, and to just really focus on those key points, because that's the secret sauce to writing and to getting, your message out there, is just clear and concise and focusing on like 2 to 3 maximum key takeaways that you want the audience to know, and to just clearly communicate that. And the way that I go about it too is I always think, whatever I'm saying, whatever I'm writing it out, how can I say this in less words, less sentences, without losing what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Mary, it's funny. There's kind of two sides of the coin here. Is that one, I feel like people have a tendency of being very wordy in their marketing. And it reminds me, I'm a big sucker for quotes. It reminds me of that Abraham Lincoln quote where he says, if you want me to give a 5-hour speech, I'm ready to go right now. But if you want me to give a 5-minute speech, I'm going to need 5 hours to prepare. And I feel like that's something that gets lost along the way in marketing and in business and in our own lives, is that, yeah, it is harder to be more concise. And Mary, I feel like when people are forced with that challenge to be more concise, they revert back to social conditioning. And somewhere along the way, I feel like we were socially conditioned. A lot of people see the overly salesy sales language, and they see that, try my innovative new X, and everyone ends up sounding like the same thing. How do we avoid that? Because so much of your marketing, even just going through your website, it has that personal feel. Even before you and I got on the air here today, I felt like I could hear your voice. Talk to us about finding that voice. Talk to us about finding the right messaging and not sounding salesy in a world where everyone's conditioned to be very anti-salesy messaging.
Yes, I have 2 responses to that. And the first is I love Donald Miller. He is the author of like Brand Story, and the way that he talks about talking to your customers and avoiding that salesiness is to just make sure that you put the customer first. So the customer is the focus of everything that you do, every piece of content that you put out there. Think of it from the customer perspective. Do they want, here's what I do, here's my products, here's my service, here's why it's so great? Or do they want, hey, you've got a need or a problem, I've got a solution, here's what it is, and here's how I can resolve your issue. Here's how your life is going to be better with my product or service, right? You're putting the customer first, customer focus. And when you do that, the salesy tone kind of goes away on its own, because you start to think about yourself as a consumer, where you're like, what email am I going to open? What Instagram post am I going to stop and look at? Am I going to look at the one that's like, buy now, this is my product is the best? Or are you going to, be more inclined to stop and take a look at something that's like, okay, that hits on a certain need that you have, that's responding to a need that you have, and most likely the latter. And so I think that helps you a lot. And the second point, and I have had to learn this, I've had to learn this. You cannot separate your personality, yourself, from the business. And I think that also comes into play when you are speaking to customers in your content and in your marketing, is that there is a person behind the entity. There's a person behind the business, behind the agency. And when you lead from that place of I'm the face behind this, I'm a human, there's a human here, you tend to not be as salesy because you are leading from, hey, I'm a person and I have this service, I offer this service, this product, but this is how it helps you. This is how I like to help you. This is what I bring here. And I think that when you try and separate yourself from the business, it becomes harder to convey your message because you're looking at the entity as something separate from you. But you are it is you, you're one and the same. And so you have to bring your personality, your person and yourself to everything that you do, to the content that you produce.
Yeah, Mary, I'll tell you what, I really appreciate that second point because in a world where we're always talking about finding our differentiators, we overlook the biggest differentiator of all is that nobody can be us. I will never be able to sound like Mary when I write marketing content, and nobody will ever be able to sound like me. And so by showing up as ourselves, not separating them, as you said, I think that's really powerful. And I want to go a little bit deeper into that first point because when you talk about getting inside the customer's minds, I mean, just knowing some of your clientele from HR to car and limo services. Mary, how the heck do we get inside the minds of our customers?
Yeah, this is probably one of the things that I love the most about marketing is the psychology piece and the need fulfillment piece and becoming that customer. And kind of what you have to do is put yourself in their shoes, become them. Okay, I'm an HR business, right? Or I'm a limo service. Why do people come to me? What are they paying me for? What do they need? What is the service that they're looking for? Okay. And then from there, why would they choose me over a competitor? Right? Because if you think about limos, there's so much ride share, we've got Uber, we've got Lyft. So a limo company has a lot of competition in that space. And so it's kind of like, you really need to think about the physical need, right? Is what they need a ride. They need a ride, they need a car, they need to get somewhere. So you fill that need. Great. Now let's think about what other needs are we filling? What can we bring to the table that our customer will choose us over someone else? Well, one of the great ways to do that is to look at your competitors or to look at your industry and see what do people not like about it, right? What are the pain points? Think about when you, for example, I'll keep with the limo company. When you get in an Uber, what are some of the things that you are concerned with? Are you concerned with safety? Are you concerned with overwhelming cologne air freshener, right? Are you concerned with this person's driving? Are they more of a reckless driver? And talk to your customers from that perspective, right? Talk to them about how we can alleviate those concerns, how we can fill those needs in a much better way, right? Our cars are clean. Yes, they just smell clean. Our drivers are not spritzing on bottles of cologne every morning, and you can breathe in our cars. Our drivers are vetted, right? They go through an interview process. They are checked out. They have their licenses. We check on that. We do background checks. So when you're getting in that car, someone that we are vouching for is driving you. And then that you're going to get their safety because we as a company uphold the highest safety standards. We check our vehicles on the regular. We replace them on the regular. And we make sure that all the things that you are concerned with getting into a competitor's vehicle are no longer a concern when you get into one of our vehicles. And that's what I love. That's what I love when you get into the mind of a consumer is try and focus on the things that they don't like about whatever product or service you're offering or what's on the market currently, and speak to that, because that is going to reach them in such a better and different way than if like, okay, yeah, you need a ride. We do that. Yeah. Okay. Great. But tap into those pain points, and you are going to speak to them on their level, and they are going to be way more inclined to use your services in your business.
Yeah, I think that's it's powerful, but it's also really cool to see it here live on the air together, is that you just came up with on the fly marketing verbiage. And obviously you've worked with this client before, but still the way that you're thinking about it is, as a customer, 0% of that was salesy, is what I think is the really cool part of that. And it comes from thinking about the alternatives. It's something that I remember when I was writing the book that started this podcast, Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur, what I was doing was I was hopping onto Amazon, other entrepreneurial and business related books, and I was reading the negative reviews, and people were saying, well, it never talked about this. I use that to my advantage. So the fact that you think about that and you think about the alternatives, what are the other decisions that consumers may make? Let me address those. A lot of people want to avoid those as if they're an elephant in the room, but you just directly address, here's what makes us different. So I really appreciate those insights into the way your mind works, Mary. But I want to ask you, because a lot of listeners will say, all right, I understand it, but what do I do with it now? And of course, that's where we go into the strategy stuff. That's where we go into the entire marketing mix. Mary, what does a strategy look like for you? Because we already talked about the importance of consistency and discipline and sticking to whatever strategy we develop. What does that time horizon look like for you? Do you sit down with your clients and say, okay, for the next 6 months to a year, here's the different channels we're going to be on, here's the different messaging, do you get micro and you say day by day, here's the content we're going to produce? What does an actual marketing strategy look like?
Yeah. So I do sit down with them, and I do go over the whole strategy. I usually put together like a nice little PowerPoint for them so they can see. But once they've agreed, to work with me and I've addressed their pain points, right? Because as the business, they have pain points too, and they have goals, and I need to address those, and I need to have solutions for those. And that's what my strategies do. And as they're telling me their pain points and their goals, the wheels are turning in my head of like, okay, how am I going to address that? What tactic is going to address this? How are we going to get to those goals? And timeline. And for me, I then, I put that all together and I will show them, like, let's say I'll break it down into service. So if, let's say, social media, we'll use that as an example. If that's something that I'm doing for them, it's, okay, here's the platforms that we are either on currently or that we need to be on. And here's the strategy that we're going to do for each of those. So here's our LinkedIn strategy, and it's X number of posts per week. And here's our Facebook strategy, X number of posts per week. At the end of, this week, this date, for social media, I usually do it month by month. So after the first month, I'll pull the analytics. And then, so I'll show them in that strategy after each month. I'll pull the analytics from that month, show you what our efforts are doing, the results that they're yielding. And then from there, I will either make more recommendations, I'll make adjustments, or maybe my recommendation is let's keep going. Things are great. Let's just keep this momentum. And so for me, the strategy is, here's the tactic, here's the goal, here's the pain point, and here is each tactic that we're going to take to address that pain point. And here's how I'm going to measure it for you. And here's when I'm going to give you those analytics, those metrics. And I'm also going to hopefully, sit down with them, especially in the beginning, and, go through it. And because sometimes part of the analytics and stuff and the strategy, a lot of clients, they just want the result. They just want the result. And some of them, it's like, go forth and conquer, do what you need to do, get me this result. And that's fine. But I also like to explain to them how we got there, because I want to make sure that they are understanding the value that I bring, right? These results are not just something that popped up overnight. This was a, month-long effort that I've put together, that I've been doing. And I want you to see the value in what you are paying for, as well as the result. So the result is valuable, but I want you to see what goes into it. And then, from there, I also like them to just kind of have realistic expectations as well. Because I know, in my experience, especially with, I'll keep the social media example, a lot of times when you are doing nothing on social media, and then all of a sudden you have a strategy in place and you start to post, engagement like spikes. And sometimes it really spikes. And so I like to show them like, okay, this is a crazy jump in engagement, but let's set a realistic expectation where this is why, right? Like you've gone from literally nothing to X number of posts per day, per week. And so it's gonna spike a little bit. What we need to focus on now is where it kind of levels off, right? Because in the next coming months, it's probably not going to be spiking that high. It's going to come down a little bit, and that's okay. And then we just need to make sure that it's not continuously going down, and that when it does kind of level off, that we are still seeing some sort of increase, just maybe not this crazy spike. So for me, the strategy is not only here's what I'm going to do to address the pain points and to reach, your goals. It's also, I'm going to show you numbers, and I'm going to help you understand what we're doing, why it's working, and what we need to do for adjusting going forward or anything like that.
Yeah, Mary, I really appreciate the way that you articulate and that you share so transparently your approach to putting together even a strategy here in front of us today, because you use the word realistic, but I'm going to also add to that is it's just such a grounded approach to marketing. And when we came across your work and we were so excited to invite you here on the show today, is that's the word that we kept using with you, is that your marketing approach is so grounded. And when you talk about these spikes, I feel like we live in a dopamine world and everyone's constantly chasing these spikes, but you so clearly show us and you've shared with us here today really the long-term focus. And that's why obviously you're into health and wellness. I love using that gym analogy, and I just think that that's a way more grounded approach that's going to lead to sustainable growth in all of our businesses. So I really appreciate those insights. You've been such a wealth of knowledge that I always find, I'm guessing it's difficult for guests when I ask this question because it is broad and it does come after so many good things that we've talked about. But what's the one takeaway, Mary, for so many listeners who can adopt that grounded approach that you've shared with us today to their marketing, and I'll extrapolate that to their businesses and to their lives? What's that one takeaway, the one actionable thing that you hope everyone walks away from today's session and says, you know what, Mary made me think about this differently? What's that thing for you?
I would say to stay true to your brand and to remember to meet your customers where they're at. I see so many businesses that, come to me or, are hesitant even to work with a marketer or a brander because they think that it's going to change their story. They think that their story is just going to go away. And it's not. We're taking that story and we're making sure that customers hear it and see it and breathe it and, all that good stuff. And we're doing that where they are. So we're taking you and your brand, because you got into business for a reason, right? All of my clients did. And I love that story. We all have a story, and we all have values. We all have a vision, and marketing is not to come in and completely change that and make you something that you're not to get you more clients. It's to convey that story, communicate who you are, who you truly are as a brand, and meet your customers and communicate that to them where they are. And I think that is so important, because we can't make our clients try and find us. We can't make customers try and figure out where we are, or, if they have a need, we want to be right there with the solution. And we can only do that if we are where they are.
Yes, really well said. And in typical Mary fashion, I feel like that is a grounding piece of advice and takeaway. So listeners, anytime you feel like you're in the franticness of running a business and all of these different options and the paradox of choices hitting us, come back to this advice from Mary. I think that's the power of grounding, is that it recenters us. It brings us back to what's important. And that's such a poignant piece of advice from you right there. So Mary, I really admire how different your approach is to marketing and how results-based it is in that long-term sustainable way. So for listeners who want to check out all the cool things that you're doing, as well as the real-life case studies that I've personally enjoyed from on your website, drop those links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
Yeah. You can go to my website, which is maximastrategiesllc.com. Or you can go to our Instagram. Our Instagram has a lot of my content. And then you can reach some of my clients and some of the work that I've done through the website. And I have links to all of that on there. So I walk my talk.
Yes, I love it. And listeners, you already know we're making it as easy as possible for you to find all of those links that Mary just mentioned down below in the show notes, wherever it is that you're tuning into today's episode. So Mary, on behalf of myself and all of our listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.